Hey everybody, today we're going to be taking a look at Unavowed, a new point-and-click adventure game from Wadjet Eye, a developer that is no stranger to point-and-click adventure games with titles like Gemini Rue, Primordia, and others. Unavowed is set in a modern world with mysterious fantasy elements underneath. It's kind of a lot like Fables comic, or maybe like a Dresden Files sort of thing in a sense that there's a modern world with mysterious creatures, ghosts, and other strange phenomena going on behind the scenes. It's an incredibly unique setting that allows the gameplay to do a lot of fun and interesting things like talking to ghosts and such. You play as a character that was possessed by a demon that goes around doing all sorts of terrible things with your body. You're saved by a secret group called the Unavowed, and then they go around trying to fix what the demon did and to discover what its plans are. In many ways, it feels and sort of plays like a noir crime drama, so if you like that kind of stuff, it'll appeal to you. And it's basically all about kind of just solving the actual cases that the game plays through. The overall story is great. It'll take you across different parts of New York. The set pieces are fairly small, though. Each case takes place within a relatively restricted set of scenes with a handful of people and objects to interact with. This does help to make the gameplay feel very tight and focused. It never feels like you're wasting time moving around or wandering aimlessly. It always felt like the end goal was right within reach. And as a result, it can feel kind of a bit like you can brute force your way through just by exhausting all the dialogue options, but I never felt like this was really a problem. It just feels like a very tight, focused gameplay experience that doesn't fill you with unnecessary fluff. The characters themselves are pretty great. You've got things like genies, fire mages, all sorts of weird craziness. Each has a fairly well fleshed out backstory and get pulled into the different cases where you get to discover things about them, and the writing is good. You'll get to choose two characters to bring on any particular case you go on, and you can solve them with any combination of characters, which is pretty cool because you can basically take whatever combination you want and play through the game. And it also gives you different options, so if you wanted to replay or maybe just kind of see what's different, you could do that. For example, one of the characters can talk to ghosts while none of the others can. This simple change can completely change how the cases are solved and how you interact with them, as you'll be able to discover vital information from the ghosts to progress. There's a few typical adventure game puzzles. I never felt like they were obnoxious or in the way as they can in some adventure games, or they're just kind of obtuse and ridiculous. Most of them are fairly straightforward in the sense that you don't need to do anything ridiculous, minus maybe one of the last one or two that come into the game, so most of them are pretty straightforward. The music is fantastic in Unavowed. Whoever did the soundtrack really needs to be commended for a great job. It's awesome. It's very creepy and weird at times, which I think plays really well to the paranormal aspects of this game. The sounds, though, can be a bit mixed. The voice acting is fantastic, but sometimes it felt like the voice actors were using budget mics to record. There's a lot of characters that have certain like popping going on where it feels like they needed a pop filter or like a windscreen or something, and it can get a bit obnoxious, especially when you're playing a game that's so heavy on the exposition and dialogue like adventure games are, which gave me the impression that the actors were all kind of recording in different locations, different parts of the world, using different mics. It's not a huge issue, and for a game that's only $15, I'm not really going to complain too hard, but it can get annoying at times. Graphically, Unavowed is a bit of a mixed bag. I like these set pieces. I feel like the backgrounds, the overall design and setting is really great, but the lack of animations in this game really hurts. Most of the time your characters just simply stand there with brief changes on the facial expressions on the side of their faces as they talk. This can make the experience feel a bit uncanny as you're just sort of staring at these dolls that are just kind of chattering on about stuff. It's not a huge issue, and for $15, I'm not really going to complain too much, but it would have been nice to see some better graphics, animations, and more of a bit of a feeling that this was real, a little bit more immersion. Overall, Unavowed is a solid point-and-click adventure. It has a unique setting with fun characters that make it a joy to play. The ending was fairly solid, and the writing is good that makes it a pleasure to play. I wish the graphics and sounds were a little bit better, but for $15 you can't really complain too much. You get a pretty solid game with a fun story and an experience that's quite enjoyable and unique. It's a great game that definitely stands above average at an 8 out of 10.